So you had a story you wanted to share, Michael, or something you wanted to
Yeah, that's the way I
share
was
with our
looking at my phone
listeners?
when you text me at 3 o'clock, damn near when the event's at 3 o'clock. Oh no,
It
no,
was
no. Listen. You go ahead and make your faces and know that I made my faces too.
oh, it's fine.
Yeah. And this is something that would have struck down a lesser co-parent or even a younger version of me. So like the initial
Hmm.
co-parenting version of me, I made many mistakes in the early days, in terms of
Hmm.
communication, especially when emotions were involved or they weren't going so great. Including, maybe like get on a flight without telling anybody, stuff like that. Um, and I'm happy because
That
these
was wild.
these lessons I've grown so much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
growing.
and now
Everyone
we're at
is,
the point where we can use it as lessons for other people so that they have an
yes.
opportunity to do it like when we're doing it.
Yo, parents, yo, parents, yo, parents and professors. Yo, parents, yo, parents, yo, parents and professors.
For everybody listening, I'm Dr. Michael Stephen Williams.
And I'm Dr. Marjorie Dorime-Williams. And
Again.
today, no, really. Well, I'm so glad that this happened. It was really timely. Today, we're talking about something that, whether you're co-parenting or just regular parenting or divorce or parallel parenting, whatever the thing might be, we recognize that there's a situation that everyone faces, and it's really just about communication and how to communicate when you might disagree or it feels like there's a misunderstanding or you're just angry. Emotions are high. And sometimes that makes it difficult. So how do you go about that process and do it in a way that's productive?
Yeah, and I think productive is always context specific. And in our particular conversation, and I guess the focus of the day is really as it relates to parenting. When you have to make decisions, um, when you've been emotionally hijacked, but you still got to keep the kids at the center. And you got to think about their well-being and their safety and their happiness over everything else. And I think that we've done a good job, and it's something that I'm pretty particularly proud of, that, through all of the ups and downs that we've had, going through divorce and figuring out co-parenting and, making our way back to each other in terms of our friendship, is that figuring out how to keep the kids at the center is something that's kind of always served us.
Yeah. You mentioned emotionally hijacked. Could you just maybe describe that or define that for our listeners, for those who may not know?
Yeah, so there's a neuroscience around it, and I wish some of the other podcasts that I really like the Diary of the CEO, this is the time when they would pull out the little anatomical model of the brain, and they were like, "This is the amygdala." But
The
essentially,
amygdala who?
yeah, exactly. Amygdala, what? Get your phone, get your phone. But the amygdala is the place where when you feel like when you're seeing red or you feel that flash. And I know that for me, I'm a person who at my core really values harmony and connection, but that also gets very angry very quickly. And so like the perception of disrespect is a good one for me, where like if I feel like you're disrespecting me, I listening has gone out the door. I'm emotionally hijacked. It's going to be very difficult for me to be present in
Yeah.
the ways that I want to be. And that's the amygdala, and it's like our body's threat response system. And it's telling us that something's in disjunction. And whether or not that's actually the truth, because there are plenty of times when like your threat system can go off and somebody didn't mean it like that, or it really is a
Right.
misunderstanding or a difference to the way that you're seeing things. But understanding your amygdala, understanding the ways that you can kind of get emotionally hijacked and like what's happening when your brain shifts into that fight, flight, or flee mode. Like I think there's something really valuable about that, especially as it relates to communication around parenting.
Yeah, I feel like, when I hear you say that, I think, especially when it comes to the kids, our kids, but I imagine for parents generally, it is so easy for me to get turned up. Particularly when I feel like, oh, well, this is logical, or I think, oh, this makes sense. Like, why don't you see it the way that I see it and think about it the way that I think about it? And why is this even an issue? Because
We got to be
obviously
careful though,
this
because your definition of logical is whatever you think is right.
it is
Oh,
logical because I am a logical person.
no, you're not.
But right, I think that this is a good example of how we can not if you're not thinking about taking perspective and taking a step back, right? It's very easy to get caught up in how you think and how you feel and how you're wronged, right? And how this other person is, I think the favored word in the land of co-parenting, right? This other person is such a narcissist and
Oh yeah.
they don't
Every other
care.
book, every
It's
other book, every co-parent has to be a narcissist if they don't
please
agree or if you don't get
don't
along.
read those. Like, do not read those. They're not good.
Yeah,
Like,
actually, yeah, we this is a good time. Hold us accountable, dear listeners, because
yes,
we've been talking about a co-parenting book for the streets with people
it's
that,
in progress.
yeah, that actually care to get along, and like what it looks like. And so I think the conversation today is germane to that, right? Like, what do you do when emotions are big? And like even the fact I think from a fundamental standpoint, we have a little bit different set of experiences with that idea because like big emotions are really the foundation of why we got divorced. Like we've had so many opportunities to kind of talk about it. And when you're in the midst of having your prefrontal cortex like sent haywire because of your emotional response to an event or a series of events, it can be really difficult for you to stay present in a conversation from a physiological standpoint, like your heart's racing, your palms are sweating, like the things that your body is just signaling to you things aren't okay. But also from like a mental and emotional, a lot of people when they feel a sense of threat or they feel a sense of like deep disagreement, especially when it feels like it's around values or expectations that weren't communicated clearly, it can make it where they're not capable of mentally and emotionally staying present in a conversation either. And so thinking about how to deal with that and like the ways that we've kind of developed ourselves, some of it through trial and error, some of it through application of research and teaching that we do,
Yeah.
is kind of the center what we wanted to chat about today.
And I really do appreciate the framing because again, I think as parents, right, whatever your adjective attached to that is, it is very easy to, I think, allow our sense of what we think is best for our kids to override the fact that, hey, like, we're not in this alone for many of us, right? Like, you're not in this alone, and there is another person. And um, whether or not we get along individually, I think it's still important to understand the value in making time and space to have those conversations, to be constructive and productive, so that you can do ultimately what's best for, right, our kids. And it's funny that you mentioned, do we want to maybe, so I think we need to provide some context for Sunday and not just that I sent you a text prior to an event that
Well,
was
I think you
added to the
can. I think
calendar.
you. So
Although late,
I'd be
I
interested in
acknowledge and
your
admit that.
story. I'd be interested in your version of the story, and then I could tell you my version of the story, and
Yes.
vice versa. And so,
Okay.
like, you can go
And
ahead.
then,
I'll let you go first, and then
so
I'll point by point.
I'm gonna keep it as general as possible. There was an event that the kids were supposed to be at. We had talked about it, but and right, personal accountability and responsibility. How did I contribute to the situation? I forgot to put it on the calendar sooner. So we had talked about it, and then it got added to the calendar like last week, 2 weeks ago, in
No,
the last week or two.
less than a week because
I
we
don't
were
think
at
it's less than
the.
a week.
It was less than a week because we were at the Kansas City soccer game, so it was like basically like a week on the nose. It was like, oh, this isn't on the thing, and
Okay,
I'm gonna
a
be here.
week. It
Yeah,
was a week. Okay. But there was a conversation, there had been conversations before, and then we had talked about it, I think Friday, whenever the craziness was happening. So we talked about it Friday. All in the context of we both have a lot going on right now. Like just life is like capital L lifing. And so my thought was, okay, even if you're busy, and in fact, I texted, I was like, hey, just a reminder that the event's coming up. You could just like throw them and run, like the little GIF, and just drop them and then pick them up. Um, and then, and I'm glad I could laugh at it. And you were like, nah, that's not happening. And I was like, but we talked about it, and it was on the calendar, and I kind of was like, feelings and emotions, and I was like, you know what? He's holding down the kids. It's a weekend that I'm not even in town. There was travel and all this stuff going on. It's a you weekend. I recognize that you were busy. And I was like, I'm just gonna like I don't we can come back to this. Like, this is not the most important thing. And so I took a second and like, I think I maybe just said like, okay, or whatever it was. And then was like, we can talk about this later. Um, but I definitely felt the like, and if this were, old Marge, it would have, was it Twitter fingers or whatever it is, like just the need to immediately respond.
Yeah, you got yourself
And
banged
so
on.
recognizing just, right. But that's not, thankfully, that's not where we are. But I felt it in the moment. It was like, oh, let me like sit with this for a second. And then, you responded. So I will pass the mic.
Yeah, I realized that when you called, I was annoyed that you had the nerve to call me, but it was connected to a larger set of conversations that just hadn't been had. And for me,
Okay.
there's a well, there's a couple of ways to approach it. I think there's a general way, and then there's a like how me and you work way. Um, the general way is I don't have enough boundaries in general. And I know that about myself. Because if you're somebody that I love and that I care for, then I'm going to try to bend over backwards to do things for you and aligned with what you think is important, regardless of my own personal state. And sometimes that when I get overwhelmed, I get into a really bad place because if I feel overwhelmed and I can't take care of the things that I need to take care of for myself, then any additional kind of weight or pressure come from somebody who I already know that I go above and beyond for feels like ingratitude. And like ingratitude is probably
Mm,
like one of the emotions that it's like hardest for me to deal with. There are too many people that know me well, and if you're in my love circle, like you know that I'll go to the wall for you. And so if I say I can't do something or if I say I'm not going to do something, I feel like I should be allowed to say that I'm not going to do it and not be a back and forth.
yeah.
And so part of it is one recognizing that there's probably a little bit more seriousness that I should have put. So when you first told me about it, you're like, "Oh yeah, hey, I'm adding this thing to your calendar that wasn't there before and it's a week away." For me, that signaled a couple of different things. The first one, and I said it like in the moment, I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to that. Like, this is the only free weekend that I have for the foreseeable. And I said that as soon as you told me about it. Like,
Mhm.
the fact that it got added relatively late, and that you made plans of your own to not be there, right? So there's a difference for me. And I
Well,
think that,
the
like,
problem, sorry.
in this particular situation, without like giving too much information about like the roles and responsibilities, um,
Yeah.
like there are organizations where you have obligations that are above and beyond what I'm allowed to do. I have no decision-making capacity in these organizations. I have no ability to like and if I do anything, it's bonus because like the foundation, and even you shared it with me, is that like, hey, part of my involvement in this organization and part of the expectation is that I be there for things because like that's part of the fellowship aspect of it. And so for
Yeah.
me, if there's one thing that can get cut, it's something where I have no decision-making power and I have no ability to influence it. Like that's gonna be the first thing to go if I'm feeling like I'm overwhelmed and I got a million things going on and I'm out here dolo with the kids. Um, I think that for me, I can like I have enough presence now to be like, that interaction didn't feel good and I know that all I wanted to do was get off of the phone, let me circle back and explain myself. And I'll give you the benefit of like the doubt and recognition that your intentions are always good. You just want to take care of the kids. You want them to be involved in all kinds of different things. Da, 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 da. You know, that's why you're the leader of a thousand different things. Um, and that sometimes that's just not going to jive with what I need to do for myself and what
Right.
is required for me. Um, and so I think part of it too is like recognition that this isn't, and I think taking the time to pause and like write out what I was thinking and feeling at the time also gave me the broader perspective to operate with, which is we probably need to have a not recorded conversation about this. Um,
Yes, we will have another
yeah,
conversation about
but
this.
like it
But
did
yeah.
help me take a step back and be like, from a functional standpoint, like this is connected to like a larger narrative that I don't want to construct in my head by myself. And that I do want to have some conversations about because what we're contributing our time, energy, effort, and money toward, and our decision structure around that, and also like what we do to troubleshoot around that kind of stuff. I think that in many ways we work so well together that we can get on autopilot sometimes, and we don't like really go back to like what's the fundamental value that animates our decision to participate in XYZ thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so like I can be proud that, okay, I felt like I was about to black out, but I can also recognize that like that had nothing to do with you. That had everything to do with me and like what was going on with me. And like there's 100 other people that if they had tried to hit me up at that moment and said something that even remotely felt like anything other than thank you, Mike, for existing, that it was not gonna go good.
Can
Like,
I just, I want to like let the record reflect. I have thanked Mike. Like, it is not that I have not thanked
oh
Mike,
no, and I
but,
don't. I
but
think that I think that's a difficult thing, and I'll just share this briefly because you're in a space that's important. I recognize, and I think that's something that you've really grown at as a co-parent and as a partner for me, um, as it relates to the things that we do together, whether it's related to business or it's related to our children. A way that I've watched you grow immensely is your ability to like pause and issue statements of gratitude. And I really appreciate that. But a statement of gratitude doesn't necessarily wipe away a feeling of complete overwhelm. And I think that that's
right.
like also the piece too. Like I could be like, "Thank you so much, Marsh. I really appreciate you. It's so good to have a baby mama that just gets it and blah 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 blah." But like that ain't taking
Right.
nothing off of my plate, and that's not.
So, so I want to, so I want to name something specific in this conversation that I think is important to call out, for folks, right, who are might be thinking about, hey, I have this similar experience with my insert partner of whatever type here, parent, co-parent, husband, wife, boyfriend,
Boyfriend,
girlfriend,
girlfriend,
whoever,
boo thing,
right?
joint, side piece.
is is that pause. Like that pause is so important. And I think, and in fact, both of us have mentioned it, right? So for me, I think there are some things that when I recognize that I am, oh, this word is overused, but I am triggered, it's like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah,
Like, what
you're
am I
not, but you're not
actually,
using trigger like a soft little bitch ass who everything's a trigger. Oh, I disagree with that. I'm triggered. Like, no,
this,
fuck out of here with that.
that's a different
Yeah,
conversation for
that's
another
very
day.
different than like, oh, yo, like this is actually reminding me of a negative pattern in
Like,
my
I
life
am,
that I feel like
yes,
I need to
like there's
escape from.
a physical response, something is happening. And I think I've also recognized that just because you are allowed to feel what you're feeling, your emotions are your emotions, but it doesn't always mean that you're right. Right? That's not always the case. Like you
That's a
can be
hugely
angry.
important thing to like,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's
Feel
hugely
the anger.
important.
Yeah. But also, like, wait a minute. Why am I actually angry? What am I feeling? What am I responding to? What do I need to do? How can I reflect on, okay, what got me to this point? And again, ultimately, what's the most important thing for the kids? And so, even to our conversation previously, it was like not only now I'm not gonna do that, right? And now I can laugh because it was kind of funny, in hindsight. But also the kids were doing other things, and those other things are just as important as this, you know, event. Um, and I could recognize that, so I can stop and say, okay, do I want them to go to the event? Yes, I did. Is it the most important thing in the world? Is it the end of the world that they didn't go? No, it's not. Do I recognize that Mike has a lot going on and he's been holding it down solo dolo for a couple of, yeah, like, so taking the space to little, and in fact, I put my phone down, I walked away, I went to a different room, did some, I was like, let me just stop. And so I think taking those steps to make sure that you are giving yourself space to reflect, but also your other person, partner, whoever, because then when whether it's 5 minutes a day, however long you need, I think that that pause is really important to then get to the next step.
Yeah, I think that there's a concept related to that, and it's about lag time. So like the lag time between when you feel a major emotional disjunction and when you actually address the issue. And I think the pause is really important for a number of reasons, but I really do want to double click on something that you had in there, which is one of the most important reasons to pause is for you to like really sit with whatever the emotion is and name it for yourself. Like, what is going on with me? Why do I feel this way? Why am I having such a strong emotional reaction
Hmm.
moment? And I think, you talk about some of the steps you should take, like, all right, let me put my phone down. Let me remove my fingers from the keyboard. Let me take a deep breath. Let me stretch. Well, I need to do hip openers. That's my old man. That's my old
Figure
man
fours.
right now. Yeah, what is it? 90-90 shin box. That's so I can walk and I don't throw my back out like an old ass man again. I'm still recovering from a back injury from last week. Today's the
That's
first day I can lift back heavy in almost a week and a
congratulations.
half. But yeah, like doing that work to get inside your head and get inside your emotions and get inside your body. You know, if you need to take a walk, if you need to do some jumping jacks, you need to do some push-ups. Like I know that was one of my anger things was definitely push-ups. Like, uh, we'll
Really?
come back to that. Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know if you remember how slim I got after we got like was through the divorce stuff.
Mm,
Yeah, it's
mhm.
like I'm just
People
gonna
are, I
work
feel like,
out.
very healthy
Yeah, like
post.
every time I get mad, I'm just gonna do something to make my body nicer so I can get bitches. Like,
You're so petty.
yeah, but like,
No, absolutely. It's like thirst trap season.
yeah, like, which ways?
Okay. Okay. So
But
back
like
to
that, you know,
the
all
communication.
those processes like help you get to that point where you
Yeah.
can ask yourself the important things. So in a,
So
I
what are the
one of
questions that you think people should be asking themselves?
yeah, so I think there's like some pre-questions and then there's some like bigger questions, right? So I think one of the questions is, and I think this is the step that we miss a lot of times. And in fact, in a lot of our reflections about like what we would do differently or like how we would think about parenting differently, because I think that we both feel like we're better parents after we got divorced than we were when we were together, because you just have to be much more thoughtful and intentional about it. Um, but I think
Hmm.
one of the questions that you can fail to ask yourself is like, what do I need? Like me as the parent before you even get to the what do the kids need, like what are the bigger,
Oh,
like what do I need? And I think that our issue from Sunday was much more of like what do I need type of conversation than it was like what do the kids need? Because if you get to the
mm.
point where you can get to the point where your overwhelm is spilling out in ways that you don't intend it to. You can get to the point where like your emotional position on something is spilling out in ways that you don't intend it to, and then that ends up compromising your ability to even see like, oh, because I'm feeling this way, this is affecting the kids, or because I'm feeling this way, this is affecting my co-parent, or because I'm feeling this way, this is affecting my partner.
So I think that that makes sense maybe for folks who might have a more positive relationship or interactions, but I guess I wonder is I sometimes wonder if people's responses are really about the kids or is it about ego?
Oh,
Because what
well,
I
I
need
think that
can
that's
very
a
much become
yeah.
it's about me. And like that's not I think that can
Oh,
become not productive.
okay, so you're doing advanced bars. So
Oh,
starting with like intro bars.
okay.
Advanced bars, like I think that is a if you've taken the time to pause and you've taken the time to reflect and you've kind of gotten out of your own way. Because I do think the like where am I at? How am I doing? Have I checked in with myself before I really try to engage with anybody else? I think that's an important precursor. But then I think at least if we're keeping the framework parenting, um, then I think the first question you got to ask yourself, anytime that you find yourself in the emotional wasteland that can be co-parenting, and co-parenting is like even parenting with your wife. Like you could be,
Yes.
you're not always gonna agree, and like yeah, like some of this stuff applies to co-parenting, but it also applies to parenting in more traditional situations and other like less stable situations. And I think that then you got to think like all right, if I'm living in this land of emotion, like, is this emotional response about my child or my children's well-being, or is it about my ego? I think that that's one of the first ones that you want to kind of get to.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the other thing too is it's often easy to be in the moment. And I think we don't always think about how is this interaction going to affect future interactions? Because this is not going to be the only time you have a conversation about an event or drop off and pick up, or something needs to be paid for, or somebody needs a visit, or there's some extracurricular activity. Like, and in fact, it's more than 18 years at this point, right? Like we're looking at 25 years out of having these
You think we'll be free of
conversations.
the boy in 25 years?
I am basing this on current research and statistics that talk about the fact that what is it? Adult children are taking more time to separate themselves from their parents. And I
I mean, well, because
don't necessarily think that's a bad thing.
they're
I don't think that's
graduating
a bad
into a
thing.
worse economy. Like
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
many of the metrics that we relied on before about even like the value of college, for example, are not going that way. Before it was a
right.
guarantee almost that you're going to be in a as good or better socioeconomic status than your parents when you graduate, but we're not currently
That's
in a
no longer
world
the
that
case.
does that.
Yeah,
But I think your point about second and third order consequences, right? Like if I react like a crazy person, or like, and to me, I want to be careful because the word crazy gets used too dismissively.
right.
And anybody that you listen to their stories, like the other person's always the crazy one.
Oh,
Like it's
it's
not,
it's
yeah.
never them. They're never the crazy ones. It's always the
Yeah.
other person.
And so like I can admit and like I can think about like, do I sound crazy right now? Or like, am I tripping?
Huh.
But I think that if you're taking a step back and you're thinking about second, third order consequences, like you also have to be thinking about like, yo, is how I'm going about this going to make future interactions with this other parent person easier, or is it going to make them harder? And I think that's a question that a lot of people don't ask themselves. And like there are too many. I would have to name
So
names.
many.
So
We're not naming
like,
names. But we know, right? We know of an abundance of examples where decisions are made in the short term that don't consider, and not only the consequences of that interaction between the parents, but also like, what does this mean for your kids? I am constantly amazed at how much people dismiss the perceptiveness of children
oh,
and
your
how
kids be
much they
peeping everything.
it's like they're not they can see you. Don't you know they can see you? Like they can see you, they can hear you, and they're taking this in. What do you think that's doing to their development, their relationship with this other person, their sense of self, like their sense of safety and security? Like these things aren't just about, again, it's not just about you. And I feel like so often people want to be right. Like, right? Like I want to be right. Do you want to be right? Do you want to have fun? Right? Like just and it's so many people prefer to be right in the situation than to be willing to compromise or to think what is Cardi's new album that Spotify is pumping everywhere? Am I the drama?
Cardi's
Am I the
album.
problem?
Am I the drama?
Am I the drama? Right? Like be like Cardi. Ask yourself, am I the drama?
Oh,
Because
well, you can't. You got to be careful because that album is
yo,
suggests that she's just tearing down everybody.
oh, I have
It's
not listened only
crazy.
because Spotify is aggressively putting this.
Nah,
I'd be
you
like,
should
I want to
listen
listen
because
to
you would like
soca
it.
music, and they're like, "Oh, you mean Cardi's?" So I'm like, "No, that's not what I
Nah,
wanted."
nah, nah. You gotta listen. So
I
uh
will listen.
a little inside the actor studio.
Music
Um
corner.
yeah. So my co-parent is a huge fan of Megan Thee Stallion, and my wife is a huge fan of Cardi B. And so it's like, in my brain, it's like, the WAP video just needs to be shot.
Yo,
Like,
no,
like,
absolutely not.
just do
In
it
your
on
dreams.
vacation. Yeah, just do it on vacation sometime. I don't have to be there. We can hire a photographer, kind of do the whole thing. But um, the Cardi B album is crazy. She's crushing people. There's so many disses on there that are great. It's it's worth a listen if you're
Okay.
somebody who likes hip hop, you like strip club music, you like dark production. I feel like there's too many times where most of the songs where she's like living the pain of the breakup are the ones that I'm not really into. But all the songs where
Mm-mm.
she's aggressively just attacking her haters in true girl rapper fashion. Because like I don't know what Nicki Minaj, Cardi B, Meg Thee Stallion, Glorilla would be without their haters. Like that
Yes,
it's a
it's
great
a part
lotto.
of
Like all the
the
female rappers that I
persona.
really enjoy spend a significant number of bars shitting on their haters. Um,
When I'm in the gym.
yeah, and so I think about that too because so your distinction, like, are you trying to be right? Or are you trying to have fun? Or like even the idea, like, can you take a step back and be like, yo, am I trying to solve a problem or am I trying to be the problem? I think that's
Yeah.
really the
Yes.
question you have to ask sometimes.
By the drama. And and I think just one more thing, and this is my, putting on my professional social worker hat. I do recognize that for some people, you may not be able to one-on-one come to a conclusion or an agreement or a decision. Get help. Like it is available. A mediator, a parent counselor, a therapist, a social worker. Like there are so many, a teacher at school. I mean, the list goes on.
A
We have
logical friend.
A logical friend, not the one who's gonna be like, yeah, girl, and does it. Please don't. Like
Yeah, don't go to
that
your
friend
friend
is
that's
for a
gonna
different purpose.
cape for you for no reason. Go to the one that actually is listening.
Like, but again, yeah, if the goal is what's in the best interest of our children, which I think as parents it should be, that means that you get the help and the resources you need to do the job that you need to do. You would do it, well, for those of us who care to be good at our jobs, you do that at work, right? Like if there's something you don't know how to do, you find out and get help to do the thing. Parenting is the same way. No one knows how to just, you don't sprout out and like, oh, I'm a perfect parent. Like it takes work. Why are
I
you
feel
making that
like
face?
I feel like there was some shade in there. You're like,
No.
for those of us who decide we actually want to be good at our jobs,
Nah, I mean, because
is that
some
another episode?
people are, that's a different episode. That's a different episode.
That was shady. Yo, there's like certain particular shades that I've become very excited by. So one of my guilty side pleasures on reality TV is like cooking shows like Top Chef. And the ways that they have to be shady to cats when they think their food is nasty is so crazy.
This was an interesting choice. What were you thinking here?
Oh, sometimes, it's extra reckless when people actually use the word they're thinking, like, that was disgusting.
Like, I have nothing else to describe
I
this.
was like, oh my God. Like, if I were cooking something for somebody and the word that they used to describe it was disgusting, I don't
I
know that
would,
I could recover from that. I feel like I would be emotionally hijacked. Like,
and we've come full circle.
yeah, now I gotta fight you. But like, I think
So,
I want to go back because there's something that you were saying in terms of like the solicitation of professional help that I think is really important. Um, Not only not being so prideful that you don't learn how to ask for help from people who've been through it before, ask for help from people that you've seen be successful. I think one of our core motivations in doing the show and like continuing to work together is that we didn't really have great examples of people who figured out how to work together for the betterment of the family after divorce. And so I feel like to a certain extent, it's incumbent upon us to be the example that we didn't have, like be the change in a certain way. But I want to go back to something you were talking about earlier, which is the your kids can see you.
yes,
Like your kids are picking up patterns, and even like all of us are have a outsized, um, whether we want to admit it or not, like our childhood affects us. It affects how we interact as adults. It affects how we like trust people, how we care for people, how we recover from
the kind of
violations.
personal relationships we have.
Exactly, the kind of romantic relationships we have. And I would much rather be modeling patience, care, understanding, restoration of harmony than turn up division, anger,
Dismissal.
separation. Yeah. And I think that that's one of the things, like, you're not hiding it well. Your kids see you, your kids notice everything. Your kids are saying slick stuff, especially if they're the age of our kids. So, like, my son told me last night that his mom hasn't been home in a month, and I was like, you need to call her because your phone works. Um, yeah, but there's ways even that. So like I can have the protective instinct of like, yeah, your mom's mad busy and she's busting her ass to like make money to take care of you. And she's traveling for work and she's traveling to take care of family. But also, you ungrateful buster, when's the last time you called her? And then I have to look at myself in the mirror and make sure that I call my mama because I'm not gonna I'm not gonna be a
Don't
hypocrite.
be a hypocrite.
Yeah, but like it really is that,
I'm
and
gonna
that
call my
if
mom.
you're setting the type of example to show that like, hey, we can disagree with each other, but we can make our way back.
Yeah,
We can have like very strong emotions, but we can find common ground on which to make decisions, and on which to like privilege you guys, the kids, and everything that we do. I think that that's really important, and it gives them not only positive role models, um, but it gives them a chance to write better scripts, like write better scripts for their life than, some of the scripts that we have, and that in some ways we're probably still rewriting.
absolutely. So with that, um, I think that that's a good sort of closing in anchor. So wanting to sort of recap and think about, the takeaways. So I think first and foremost, right, recognize when your emotions are hijacked or when you're in a surge or when your feelings are running high, right? Take that time to pause before responding, right? Take that time to reflect. Um, what else would we add, Michael?
Oh, just pay attention to your. I mean, it's like basically doing an audit. Like do an audit of your communication. Like, are you acting from a place of ego and self-centeredness? Are you acting with the best interests of your child at heart and like your child's parent? whether you're with them or not. Those of you who have the benefit and detriment of having multiple child's parents that you have to answer to, like sometimes it's awesome, sometimes it's not awesome. Sometimes one's in DC and the other one's in Chicago. And
Solo dad parenting.
yeah, like so what is it? Struggling single dad. Play one on Instagram.
Yeah, remember that your kids can see you, right? They see you and they learn from the example that we set, and how we talk to, their other parent matters, right? They model what they know and how they'll behave in the future off of that. So, making sure that we're, I think, being good role models for our children and how we handle difficult conversations.
Yeah, and that we're kind of modeling the things that we expect from them to like model pausing, model taking a breath, model disengaging long enough to get yourself emotionally regulated again so that you can really be present in the conversation. And also like model asking for help, right? Like recognizing that a lot of times when you are emotionally hijacked, a lot of times when you're over the top in terms of how you're feeling and your inability to control how you're feeling, it is because it's a signal of some other disjunction. And so like making sure that you're taking care of yourself, that you're, if you need therapy, getting therapy, if you need exercise, getting exercise, if you just need some sunshine, like that you're getting that.
Vitamin D deficiency is a real thing.
Oh, listen, I'm married. I've been married twice. Both of those people are plants. If they don't have sunshine and breezes, they're not gonna be right.
It's not great.
And so like figuring out what are those things that you need as a parent to take care of yourself so that you can get back. It's really difficult to pour from an empty cup.
Yeah.
So like making sure you're filling up your cup in a way that lets you be the present partner, the present co-parent, the present parent that you want to be is extremely important. Don't let the emotions, especially the negative ones, rule the day.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to another episode of the Parents and Professors podcast.
Peace.
Pour a little wine, sit back and relax, discussing all the theories and the social impacts. From belonging to assessment, we break it all down in the classroom and at home. We wear the crown, raising little warriors with wisdom and might. In this chaotic world, we shine so bright, teaching them to question and to challenge the norm. Together in this storm, we stay warm. No cap, teaching all